Welcome to People First by All Voices. I'm your host, Jeffrey Fermin. I am joined by Greer Procich. She is with Rethink Ability, actually the founder over there. She's going to tell us a little bit more about what she's doing, the importance of accessibility, and just she's an overall great hang. So I'm just excited to show off this amazing personality, and I hope this one does numbers because, yeah, she's a personality worth knowing, especially in this future of workspace. So, Greer, give yourself a proper intro here. Do one better than mine because I'm really bad at it.
Oh my God, that was so. I want that on a t-shirt on how nice that was that you just introduced me. So thank you. I'm flattered. But I'm Greer Procich. I use she, her pronouns. I am a fair-skinned person who has brown glasses, circle glasses on. I have long brown hair. I'm wearing white headphones. I've got a colorful sweater on, and over my shoulder is a little stained glass puppy with a ball in his mouth. And I'm really excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me and having this conversation around disability and accessibility at work.
So yeah, no, I'm really excited. For those that may not know, and this is something that I just learned before Greer and I hopped on the call. What you just did there, describing the scene, describing your hair color, every little detail. Why was that done? And I feel like it's worth mentioning for someone like me that learned previous to this call why it's important.
Yeah, so I have to say I learned this recently too, right? Like it's all about being open to changing and doing things that make things more accessible. So long story short, it's just a visual description. It's for low vision people who might be attending this webinar who can't see me or who want to be able to register kind of what I look like. Maybe they aren't even watching this and they're just listening. So good example of how accessibility is good for people who aren't just disabled, because if someone's listening to me, on a podcast and doesn't have this video in front of them, now they have a little bit of an understanding of what I look like. So it's really just a short, quick, really tangible way to help people meet you in here with their needs, to say, hey, I don't have this vision opportunity and I still want to be able to show up and understand how everybody is showing up themselves. So it's just an equalizer.
One thing that should be noted is she's also really cool. No, no,
I'll
sorry for
take it.
the
I'll take
jokes.
it. I'll take it. I'll
No.
take it. I'll take it.
Um, yeah, so I feel like a lot of this ties into what you're doing at Rethink. There's several seminars just around. By the way, a lot of the people have done stuff here at People with People First here at All Voices have joined us for webinars. So amazing lineup, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about the lineup itself, maybe 3 or 4 names, as well as like the seminars and why they're important. And I know we threw out a couple names and we're like, oh my God, these are big names. But aside from all that, I really want to hear why these talks are impactful and how they could benefit workplaces.
Yeah. So it's really important to kind of cover the gamut, in my opinion, on disability and accessibility. We talk a lot of times about what's visible when it comes to disability, not as much about what's non-apparent. And so for us, it's important to have these conversations because we're living it every day. And because if there's anything that's guaranteed to you in your lifetime, it's that disability will come to your doorstep, probably when you expect at least. And so we are really starting these conversations because we're being impacted. And frankly, we need to create the spaces for ourselves to be successful at work because no one's going to do it for us. And so I'm lucky to have a really amazing steering committee who advised me on these topics. They said, hey, this is what we need to talk about. This is what people need to learn about. And so we've got more than 15 learning topics that we're going to be going through, all with different sorts of experts, like you mentioned, to just give everybody a place to start. And so we've got some really awesome people who are very near and dear to my heart, who are part of this. So like Sarika Lamont, she's going to be on a session around how to really kind of like show up for people with non-apparent disabilities. We have Leah Say, who's on a topic about moving away from compliance and actually building like a fully inclusive culture. And then we've got Teresa Fessenstein, who's going to be on a session with us about AI. So we've got some really cool people who are volunteering their time because, again, this is fully volunteer, and are working with us to kind of increase the visibility of these conversations because it's just the right thing to do. So this is, again, a fully volunteer movement. We're all, kind of giving our time freely and not expecting anything in return because, again, that's just kind of where we're at when it comes to disability in the workplace. And we know that we have to make these conversations accessible, and we have to make it so that people can show up in the ways that they need to. And again, as disabled people ourselves, we are creating the spaces that we need.
Well, you're doing amazing work and you're doing it with great people. So like, those three mentioned, God, they're so good.
They're
They're
the best.
and obviously like the rest of the speakers too, like I think Marian Anderson. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
She's like
Well,
my new best friend.
Marion's a big reason that this entire project is happening. So, used to work together on something called the Performance Innovation Collective, which was a performance management community. And I met her because she raised her hand to be on the leadership team of that. And so, as we were planning for this year, she's got an awesome podcast called The Elephant in the Org. And we were chatting about what we could do for this year. And we came up with the podcast on this topic. So we released in July a 6-episode limited series podcast on the intersection of disability and performance. And so I highly recommend people to go listen to that. We've got a lot of really good guests who came on there. And that was really what kicked off this entire project, was us being like, hey, we could do a podcast. Let's just do it. Let's see. And then it kind of blew up into all the things that we're working on now.
I'm gonna give those podcasts a listen to. And like now that you're covering the full gamut of all these accessibility and these like topics that are somewhat related, I'm actually curious to hear like and Danny Herrera is another one that another speaker that I'm gonna like kind of mention right now. We had a chat around DEI and where it's going. Um, Perfect segue, and I promise I'm gonna land the plane right now. How do you feel accessibility like falls into DEI? Is it one of these things that, this is just a personal opinion here when I say it, like do you feel like it's often forgotten? We always look at like DEI as like maybe other things, whether it's like race and gender, but do you feel, and it's again going off my opinion, that this one is one that's kind of forgotten and one that needs to be amplified?
I mean, so if you think about it, DEI is an acronym. And in a lot of times, a B and an A are added on the end of it. So it's DEIBA. So it's belonging and accessibility. But we don't always use those. The B is kind of where it stops, is with belonging. And so accessibility gets cut a lot. And so I think it is something that we have to prioritize more because, again, 1 in 4 people in your workplace right now today are disabled. 1 in 4. And so the way that all of the processes and programs and support systems are set up are pretty inaccessible. And so we do need to talk about this. We do need to change things. We do have to prioritize accessibility, especially, I mean, I don't think people register the fact that long COVID is a disability, and it's something that's brand new in the last couple years. And disabilities can be temporary. You could break your leg, and that can be a disability, right? And so it definitely needs to be something that we talk about and we're more familiarized, but it's taboo. And people who don't understand it don't talk about it, or people who don't feel like it impacts them, it's not something that they prioritize. And so that's why, as a disabled person, we have to be the people driving these conversations. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. It's, yeah, focuses on all of these other visible things. Not to say disability isn't visible, but for me, you look at me and I don't look like a disabled person. I don't look like, the blue sign of a wheelchair, and I don't carry a cane around, but I am disabled and I do have needs, and I am impacted on a daily basis. And so that is part of my being and my identity. And so, yes, I do think that accessibility is something that we have to bring into conversations, and pretty much every conversation, because accessibility can be something as simple as communicating in a different way, sharing information in a written way versus a visual way. And so, you know, Accessibility is thought of only for disabled people, but it benefits everybody. And so we should be prioritizing these kinds of things when we're building programs and processes.
Yeah. I think Leah Saith came on here. She had dropped a great quote, which I'm going to completely butcher and say, no workplace is truly inclusive until we like really include everybody. And
Love
yes,
Leah. Leah always gets it. Yes. Leah's a big part of this project too. Yeah, Leah was part of the entire impetus of the podcast too. And so, yeah, really, really smart, wonderful person. Love collaborating with Leah.
so, by the way, I did not know that you all were working together. And I had messaged her like on one of the Rethink LinkedIn posts. I was like, "Oh my God, you definitely need to check it out." He's like, "Oh, I know about this. I'm working with Greer on this a little
Yeah,
bit, of course."
yeah.
So I,
Leah was one of the first people, the first 6 people who came and said, "Hey, all right, we're gonna do something. We're gonna do something different." And so, yeah, this wouldn't be happening without Leah, 1,000%.
yeah, no, she's great. And
Yeah,
okay, so you brought up a really great point right now. There are these disabilities that might not be visible, right? Um, I want to ask a
non-apparent.
real, what's that?
Non-apparent. So,
Not a,
yes,
not
non-apparent. So,
apparent.
like, we have said invisible, but it's more inclusive to say non-apparent. So just, little note there.
I'm learning as much as anyone else
Exactly.
here. So
Same.
there's these non-apparent disabilities, right? Um, Here comes the real like question that's gonna probably make me look bad. Do you feel like workers, especially you threw out that number 1 in 4, that's 25% of the workforce, they might not want, are they still like a stigma around announcing that? And what can we do
Yes.
to make that better for them?
Yes, there's a huge stigma of announcing that. Like, yes, it's scary. It's not safe. It's not safe for a lot of people to disclose at work. And I think that's something that we have to recognize, right? There's retaliation that comes with it. There's closed doors that come with it. There's kind of like being put into an out group because you have shared this. And so I think being able to disclose is kind of the like lowest level, the bar on the floor of being able to say like, here is what I have and here is what I need. But unfortunately, no, there aren't safe working places to be able to do that. And let's think about it this way. Even before you get into a workplace, you're asked to disclose, and that's not safe either when you're filling out an application. And so, no, I don't think it's safe for a lot of people. Now, I'm a white woman with a lot of privilege, a ton of privilege, right? And so for me to disclose, I probably have a higher level of safety than, somebody who is of a different skin color or background from me, or who might have a visible disability. And so as somebody who, lives with a non-apparent disability, I have the choice of telling somebody I live with this versus I don't. And so for me, I'm trying to live out loud, but not everybody has that. They don't have that luxury. It's not a luxury for everybody. And so I think that's one of the first places that we have to start is making it safe for people to say, "Hey, this is what I need because this is why." But people also shouldn't have to tell you why. People should be able to just say, "This is what I need." And they should just be able to get it from that. Like, why are we living in this society where people have to justify the fact, like, I kid you not. The laptop stand that my laptop is on right now, I had to jump through so many hoops at one of my old jobs to get this. It's like a $20 laptop stand. And so the fact that I had to fill out like a bunch of paperwork, meet with somebody to prove that I needed it, right? Like that was such a terrible process to go through. And like, I don't care, I'll go through it. But for other people, that might completely deter them and just say, like, no, you know what, never mind. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get what I need. I'm not going to have this conversation because I don't feel safe. And so, like, the processes that we have in place right now are really barriers to disabled people being successful and getting the resources and tools that they need to be successful. So I think, yeah, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. We have to show up. And people like me who do have the privilege, we need to speak out and we need to be able to make places safer for other people.
Love that. And yeah, I feel like that is a common thread amongst all the folks in the DEI
Yeah.
AB space. They are
Yeah.
a lot of you are really altruistic in the sense where you are trying to really amplify your voice in order to help others. That is a common personality trait, whether it's you, Leah, Danny, Marion. Like I've caught that trend, and I hope we start getting some more folks out there, and more folks out there that are willing to do that and really willing to like put themselves out there to help out others. And speaking from personal experience, that last point, you really like uh, hit the nail with the hammer too. Like there's certain backgrounds that might not necessarily feel comfortable, admitting that they might have shortcomings, even if it's just like a small state, right? Like I myself have battled depressive states in my life where I just couldn't get to work, and you can't really announce that. You can't really say like, hey, I have to take you know a couple of months, not a couple months off, but like maybe an hour a week to go get some therapy or go get some help.
Mhm.
It's almost taboo, especially being Hispanic male, all this stuff, marketing leader, all that. So like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like for maybe a junior level employee that's being told by their parents, by their society, their culture, that they're like, hey, don't say that, or else it's
Yeah.
going to be taboo. And what it's like for maybe women. Like, maybe do you want to speak on that a little bit, like what it could feel like for certain cultures, and why we need to like make this a lot easier for employees to announce?
Yeah, I mean, look at the C-suite. It's a lot of white men. A lot of white men. A lot of them are like named John, and they all look the same, and they all came from the same places. And if they have a disability, they're not sharing it. It's not visible. It's not broad. And so we know from a culture perspective that that culture trickles down from the top. And so if you don't have people who have those who fit within those demographics, they're not going to be talking about it. They're not going to be visible. They're not going to be saying, you know what, I am having a hard day. I am feeling depressed today. And so I'm going to take a mental health day. We don't see that in leadership. And so until leadership, in my opinion, this is my opinion, until leadership kind of walks the talk and sets the stage to say, hey, it's safe here to not have to show up 100% of the time, or it is safe here to, not have to show up with your screen on every day because sometimes you just don't have the capacity, you don't have the spoons to do it. Like that is setting a tone, and companies don't realize that. And so I think that's one of the reasons that, and like, not to get political, but like, let's get political because you can't separate politics from work. That's another privilege that people have is once you see things like the president removing sign language interpreters from press briefings, that gives other people in other organizations the permission to do similar things because they're going, if it's not important at that scale, why am I doing it? And so I think we just have to be conscious right now about what's the message we're sending, how are we creating safety for our team members, and if they don't feel safe and they tell us, what are we doing to protect them? And if you can't do that, you're not creating safe spaces for disabled people on your teams. You're just not. And so I really think that it's got to come from the top. These messages have to come from leadership of it's okay. Take the care that you need. We are flexible. We are agile. We will meet you where you are. We want to be proactive and help you. We're going to help you through these processes ourselves, kind of thing. But it's not a priority because it's taboo and it's not visible and it's not going to change, until somebody in the C-suite needs something. And then that's when the policy will change. So I think we've got to focus on that not being it.
Your fantastic work. Thank you for teaching and helping us learn here. Like, before I let you out of here, and I have one more question, and I do have to. I want this to be the big clip, right? The one that we kind of put in the promos and like
Do it.
maybe throw on LinkedIn. Give us the reason to go to Rethink. If you're a company that might not necessarily, I don't want to say care, but if you're a company that's kind of like, oh, accessibility is not really a priority right here, give us the big reason why you should go and why it is important. We already have the low hanging fruit with companies like an AllVoices, right? Or,
Mhm.
more progressive companies. But if you aren't that type of company, like, why should they be going to Rethink, and what are the benefits?
Yeah. So I would like people to join because they want to create safe workplaces. They want to create inclusive workplaces. They want to make it accessible and they want people to show up as their whole selves. That's what I hope it's for. But let's be real, we live in a capitalistic society. And so come because doing these things makes you more profitable. Doing these things allows more people to use your tools, your products, your services, all of those things. And so accessibility doesn't just benefit people with disabilities, it impacts everybody positively. And so my thought would be, hey, if you want to do better at business, come and listen and show up, because these are the things that are going to make differences, and these are the things that are going to really differentiate you from your competition, is making it accessible, being intentional, and including voices as part of the process of the people who are going to be using the product at the end. So come join us because it's going to help you make money, but come join us because it's the right thing to do, and it's going to create safer spaces for your team members.
Gets mad at us for that. Really? No, seriously, because there's a lot of companies that are, they really are bottom line driven. I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for saying this, but they really need to see like, no, there is potential to make dollars in focusing in this new, or not new, this like demographic of folks that you might be alienating.
Mhm.
It Now, truly, this is the last question before I let you go. Um, what companies are doing it right, do you think? And I have like a couple of examples of like products that do it right. If you need some time to think, I want to give a little shout out to Microsoft. I feel like they do a lot of, impressive work with, especially in the gaming world. They have like a lot of, accessible type of controllers so
Mhm.
kids could enjoy games, and or even adults as well. Yeah, I think that's one. And I'm just like a gamer, so I love seeing those videos. But I yield the floor
Yeah.
over to you now.
I mean, I know Logitech does a ton of stuff with their actual hardware. And so they have a full accessibility ERG. They've got an accessibility like council on their legal team and stuff. And so it's a real big priority for them. So I know that like they're actually physically creating products with accessibility in mind. So that's a household name. I think we could think about that, right? Like that's something to work towards. T-Mobile also has a really great ERG internally called Magenta Ally, and so they are another organization that is really putting their money where their mouth is and saying, "Hey, we're going to do this internally, and we're going to empower our team members to do this." I think really cool. We've got some industry, like different industries that are doing some cool stuff. So one of the individuals on our work travel session, Steve Nelson, he works for Alaska Airlines, and they do a ton of work making it accessible for people who are autistic to have flights that practice flights, right? And being able to go on the flight and the plane and walk through the terminal before they even get on the flight. So there's ways to do it if you want to do it. You just have to want to do it and put your money there. And so that's my biggest takeaway from this is put your money into it because you're going to get tenfold return there.
Right. Oh, well, thank you so much. And Greer, yeah, I'll put the link to Rethink. I look forward to the seminars. I look forward to just being part of it, and amazing work.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. And we hope everybody can join us and learn something.